As part of the Clear-Sighted Career Online Learning Series, we welcome you to today's webinar titled Kicking Off Your Job Search, Strategies for a Great Game Plan. If you're in a job search or you anticipate being in one, this program is for you. My name is Sharon Kane. I serve as Director of Professional and Academic Programs with Notre Dame's Alumni Association. And I'm joined today by Annie Duffy, the Alumni Association's Career Advisor, and Pat Perrella, Director of Graduate Career Services in Notre Dame's Mendoza College of Business. Pat will begin by providing us with insights into today's environment and then share very practical information, resources, and tools that will focus and support you in your job search. First, he'll address the role of preparation and then hone in on two areas. One, personal budget and the importance of that, and two, developing a target list. As we get started, I encourage you to submit your questions at any time during this webinar. Use the prompts in the Q&A section that appear on your screen. If we're not able to address your question as part of this webinar, we'll respond to you offline. To facilitate this, please include your email address in your question. Just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded. It will be posted to the My Notre Dame website under Connect and in the Multimedia Resources section. Now, I'd like to introduce our presenter today, Pat Perrella. He's our expert on conducting a job search. Pat's a Notre Dame graduate. He earned his architecture degree and is a proud member of the class of 1990. He then earned his MBA in '96 from Indiana University's Kelley School of Business. Pat had a successful career with Citigroup, where he developed specialties in cash management, foreign exchange, operations, risk management, and security services. And after Citi, Pat joined Notre Dame in Mendoza in 2007. He currently serves as the Director of Graduate Career Services in Mendoza. In his role, Pat's responsible for all career services and recruiting activities for Notre Dame's MBA, Executive MBA, Masters in Management, and Masters in Accountancy programs for both current students and alumni. So Pat, thank you in advance. We appreciate you sharing your professional experience and expertise with us today.
Thanks, Sharon. It's a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank everyone that's dialed in for this webinar. And it's great to be across campus over here in the X Center. So today, what we're going to talk about, a couple simple things, right, and just give you some quick tools and resources. And the first is going to be all about preparation and preparing in this job market. We'll talk briefly about thinking about finances and what you need to do when you're approaching a job search. And the real tactical thing that we'll concentrate on is how do you come up with that target list of companies that you are actually really, how do you get started? How do you come up with this list? So I'll give you a tool to actually do that in a process, and we'll sum up, and we'll be taking questions as we go along. So, and this will be fast, right? So Sharon has me on a tight leash here, just down to 20 minutes before questions. So here we go. So, when we talk about preparation, one of the things that I think you cannot forget is this job market it's ridiculously competitive. And, I think people are like, oh, I'll have no problem getting a job. And it's not like that. It is a very tough market, and there are tons of great candidates for every job out there. And, most job postings that come up, they will get hundreds of job applicants, right? And so it's, you apply, you're in this internet black hole. And so the key thing is you remember it's not easy, right? And it does take work. You have to put time into it. Now, the Internet's actually kind of helped us, and it's also hurt the candidates that are out there in the market. When you think about the old days, it was very hard to find out, what jobs were out there. Now it's a lot easier, right? So it's leveled the playing field. And so job opportunities are pretty easy to find. Just, you can Google them, and there's all sorts of websites, and we even have a job board here at Notre Dame. So it's easy to find all of these, but of course, that means, right, lots more people applying to all of those job opportunities. And, I think you hear it a lot in the market, but the reality is, there are still a ton of jobs that actually never make it out into the public, or by the time they do, they already have a preferred candidate in mind for the role. And, a common term you'll hear is like kind of the 80-20. So 80% of the jobs actually never make it out, into the market. And that's because networking plays such a key role in actually getting yourself lined up for when these opportunities arise. So now we're going to do a quick little poll on LinkedIn. So Sharon's going to help out here. And so what I want you to do is just answer this basic question. It's just yes or no. When you created your LinkedIn profile, did you just copy your resume straight into your LinkedIn profile, right, almost word for word, or did you do some customization? So if everyone could click in on that, that would be great. Let's just see where we end up here. Come on, it's yes or no, folks. This isn't hard. All right, so, it's actually now it's kind of tailing off here. So it's about 60% actually changed up their LinkedIn profile from their resume. And so that's good, all right, because your resume and your LinkedIn profile should actually be different. And, and if you don't have a LinkedIn profile at all, that's even worse. All right, now why do I say that? So 95% over of all recruiters actually use LinkedIn right now to search for candidates, and 98% of all recruiters are on LinkedIn themselves. So if you are in a job search, you need to be on LinkedIn. Now, one of the interesting things about LinkedIn is the majority of LinkedIn profiles are actually awful. People have not put a lot of time into them. They've almost verbatim copied their resume, and they haven't taken advantage of a lot of the different tricks that you can do on LinkedIn to kind of really personalize your branding on your profile there on LinkedIn. We do actually have a webinar available for LinkedIn called Managing Your Online Image. That's in the Alumni Association website, so I urge you to look at that. And really kind of, pull your LinkedIn profile together. But this is one of the things. Your LinkedIn profile needs to be done as you start thinking about beginning your job search. Now, the other thing, right, we talked about, we mentioned resumes, right? Your resume also needs to be done when you're ready to start your job search, right? A lot of times when you're networking with someone, they'll say, well, hey, send me your resume. Resume needs to be completed. We're not going to go through resumes in detail here. There's actually another webinar that was done this spring on resumes, and there's also a Mendoza video on that as well, both available on the website. But your resume has to be done. Have someone look at it, and actually have someone look at your LinkedIn profile too. I've seen LinkedIn profiles with misspellings on them. So, these documents need to be completed, and they need to be ready to go in the market. And then the last thing, is, do you have your references ready? One of the things, people don't think about this, you don't need to publicize them, but you'll get asked for them when you get into, an application process. And make sure your references are actually people that will provide good references for you. Too often, people say they'll be good references, and what they say isn't exactly what you would actually want people to say. So, it's okay to vet what they would actually say about you as a reference or as a referee. So make sure you ask them, and prepare and have those people ready to go. All right, so, you're thinking about, going forward into the job search, and if you're in the situation where you're going to be unemployed, you need to actually figure out how long you can afford to be in the job search, right? So what I would want you to do is actually start thinking about what are all the different things you need to bring together. And first is, what are all your current inflows and outflows when it comes to finances, right? And what are all the assets that you have, right? And so you pull all these different statements together, and do you have things that you could also sell? A lot of folks have a lot of things in their houses that they never use. You can sell them and monetize that, right? And the last one also is, what's your medical insurance? This is important, especially for those with families, right? So if you're out of work, what is the medical insurance situation right now? So have a view into all of them. Now, how long should you be thinking about a job search is going to take? It's pretty much going to take everyone 3 months at a minimum. Now, it's going to take you longer if you're thinking about changing career fields. If you are a experienced hire, right, so you have more than 15 years of experience, it's going to take you longer typically to find the new job. If you have a narrow career scope, right, so if you can only do financial planning and analysis, or you can only do brand management in a consumer packaged good company, that's going to stretch out the time to, for your job search. If you live in a geographic area that doesn't really have a lot of jobs in your field and you're not geographically mobile, that's going to take you longer, right? So you have to consider all these things as you go into your job search. Now, one of the things that I find is, folks that are unemployed and they actually keep living like they're employed. It amazes me. So, part of the whole thing is if you're unemployed, you need to start cutting back on expenses so that you can actually make sure you have enough time not to, go through all of your assets, until you get a new job. And so I make sure you are clear what the difference is between your needs and wants, right? So what are your non-discretionary things you have to spend on? Housing, food, right? And then you need to start cutting out the things that are elective, right? If you are unemployed and you're going on vacation, I think personally that's crazy, right? You need to be working to get a job, not, taking vacation time. I know it sounds nice, but hey, you got to save money. So, and then real quickly, a couple of things, what can you use to actually get assets, or what can you spend on? Remember, so there's things that are liquid, you can get access to right away, things you can use on the financing side, right, and then permanent ways to get cash, right, and that's actually, starting to sell some of your assets. These are all ways to come up with income while you are unemployed, and you need to make sure you consider all of this. Now, why do I say all that? So part of it is, I'll give you an equation here, right? So if you take what you think your annual projected income is going to be while you're unemployed, right? And so this is everything you can pull together from savings or other sources, and then you know how much you have to spend each month, right, on utilities, food, and all that non-discretionary spending. Basically, you'll be able to come up with a simple equation, right? So annual projected income over expenses, right? So let's say you have 12 grand, you'll be able to pull in over the course of a year, and you have $1,000 of expenses each month. You could actually be unemployed and survive 12 months, right? Greatly simplified, but I think, you need to have a definite endpoint for how long your job search can take. Because I think otherwise people don't get active and really light a fire under themselves, right? So how long can you actually be unemployed, by watching your budget? Definitely need to take that in consideration. All right, so now I'm going to switch tacks here, and we're going to talk about how to create a company target list. And I think this is one of the interesting things. People really get sort of paralyzed, right, when they're like, oh my gosh, how do I come up with this list of companies, and they have a hard time around it. So we're going to go through a simple tool that I think will help you actually move forward, right, and get out of that paralysis. So first things, though, I want you to remember are, do you have any restrictions that are going to reduce the companies you can put on your target list, right? So I have geographical restrictions, right? I can only look for jobs in Southern California, or I can't look for jobs outside of Central New Jersey, right? So what are do you have any geographical restrictions, right? That will definitely make a difference. Are you restricted to certain industries because of the experience that you have, or specific job functions, right? Those are all big restrictions that you need to think about when you're actually creating your target list. So what's the tool that we're going to use? So what I'm going to ask you guys to use is called the LAMP method, right? L-A-M-P, right? And so what does LAMP stand for, right? So LAMP actually stands for list, alumni or friends, motivation, and posting, all right? And so we're actually going to go through each one of them, and you'll be able actually to pull that together, okay? So this is the LAMP method, and I will tell you who created this too, because it's a great process that it's used at business schools across the country. So first, we're going to create our list. Now, the objective that I would like all of you to have is, I think everybody needs a target list of about 40 companies. That's your objective, right? So that's what I want you to come up with. And so first, we're just going to make a list of companies, right? And so the list is a couple different things. So the first ones on the list I want you to think about are dream, who are these companies that would just be a dream to work for? Like, so I dream of working, for X company, right? Notre Dame, of course, or Google, or Apple, right? Or General Motors. But I have a dream, and I would love to work for, a selection of these companies. Then, what companies do I have friends or fellow alumni working at that are pretty interesting to me? Then third, while there's postings out there, and I'm interested in those jobs, right? So what companies are those postings at? And then fourth, who are the companies that are really trendy, right? So, there's companies out there and they seem to be really big in the news. Don't know everything about them, but they sound interesting, right? So companies that have kind of caught your eye in the news. Now, where can you come up with different names of companies, right? So that's a great question that I think a lot of folks will probably say. So easy things to do, right? If you're in specific, so if you're totally geographically open, right? You can go with the Fortune 500 and and move down from there. If you're looking for jobs in specific areas, you can actually get the list of the companies from the local Chamber of Commerce. You can Google the top companies in different cities. And a lot of times what's neat about this, you'll come up with companies you've never heard of because there's a lot of private companies that are actually big employers in different cities. Or it's a subsidiary or an operation of a large company, right? So you think about like Charlotte, North Carolina. There are a lot of companies there that are subsidiaries or operations of other big national companies, but it's not the headquarters. Tons of jobs at it, though. So definitely be resourceful when thinking about, looking for different jobs and names of companies are out there. But I think it's pretty easy. Crane's business has a lot of the big cities. They'll have all the top companies. So, that information is out there and it is readily available. So come up with that list of 40 companies. Now, the next one, and this whole process should take you 2 hours. Sorry, I should have put that in there. This is a 2-hour process, right? So now, after you've come up with that list of companies, I want you to answer a question next to each one. And it's just yes or no. Do I know any alumni or friends that are in that company, right? And so, and it's really simple, right? The company or the function at the company. And it's yes or no, real fast. And where can you figure this out? So you could go into My Notre Dame, and you could look up the company and see if there's alumni there that you know. Or you could go to LinkedIn, linkedin.com/alumni, and you can search that way. That is a brilliant tool. And so just real fast, are there alumni there or friends that I know that I can contact? So real fast, are there anyone I know, yes or no? Next, what is your motivation to actually work at the company? Right? How much do you like it? All right, and so if it's your dream company, I want you to assign a 5 to it. If it's okay, it's a good company and you like it, it could be a 4. Like it but don't love it, 3. Know a little bit about it, 2. And if I don't know anything about the company, a 1. All right, so you're going to rank all of these companies from 5 to 1. All right, how much do you like the company, that you would think you'd really want to work there? So go through that process, and I want you to rank them all. And then the last one, are there job postings at the company, right, that actually match your criteria? All right, and so this takes a little bit of time, right? So you have to actually go up to the company website and look, right? And so if there are jobs, right, that that employer, they have jobs, it matches your experience and some keywords that would match up with your resume, I want you to give it a 4. If it's the employer and the experience matches, a 3. It's an employer and they have postings, but nothing else matches, a 2. And nothing matches at all, right? There's no postings at the company at all, right? A 1. And so you do that for all of the companies on the list, right? 4, 3, 2, 1. So far, hopefully everyone is seeing this is pretty easy, okay? Now, the next thing I'm going to ask you to do, this takes a little Excel skill. I'm going to ask you to prioritize the list, right? And you're going to sort it, all right? And you can sort it different ways. I'm going to recommend how you should sort it, though. The way I would recommend sorting the list, sort it by motivation, whether there's any postings, and then alumni, yes or no. All right, and so then that will give you the list. And so what I'd say then is the companies that are at the top, those are the ones we want to start with, and then you just work down the list, right? So that's hopefully giving you an idea of where can I start and what can I do, right? So giving you that nice list to go down. Now, this process, I called it the 2-hour job search. It was actually done by one of our friends. He created it, our friend Steve Dalton. He works at Duke in the Fuqua School of Business. And so that's a book if you want to read a little bit more on it. Might take you more than 2 hours to read it, but I've pretty much given you everything you need to know. But it is a great read, and will give you some nice tools. So some key things here, right? So remember, preparation is key. You want to make sure you have all the tactical stuff out of the way when you're ready to start. Have a clear timeline for how long your job search is going to take, all right? And stick to that budget based on that timeline. Don't blow it because you just don't know what's going to happen, right? And build that target list and complete the LAMP, right? That'll get you ready to go and get you out of that paralysis stage, and you can start looking at companies. And so now Sharon's going to make me take questions, which I'm happy to do.
Great. Thank you, Pat. You've really injected some realism and focused on some key tools that can get people up and going quickly. So first questions come from Christopher around the resume in terms of the length and reducing the length of bullets as well as the resume overall, and including things like service, volunteer work, or any club activity.
Okay. So try to answer this quickly. So how long should your resume be? Totally depends on how much work experience you have, but the reality is 1 to 2 pages is as long as your resume should be. If you can't say it in 2 pages, you're just not being concise enough. So 1 to 2 pages. If you've done volunteer work, I think it's fine to include on your resume. If it's clubs, if it's clubs in like school, if it's very recent, I think that's okay. But clubs from undergrad or grad school, not that important as you move out into your career.
2 builds on those questions for you, Christopher, and others. 1, there are a couple of resume-focused webinars that are available on the mynotredame.nd.edu website. That's mynotredame.nd.edu. You go to Connect, Career and Professional Services, and the Multimedia Resources page. And behind logins, we have an effective and distinctive resume webinar from last spring led by Annie Duffy, our career advisor, and we have a resume webinar that Pat Perrella did for Mendoza that is also available to you. And then a service that the Alumni Association, specifically our career advisor Annie Duffy, provides is critiquing your resume. She's certified to do so. So that's available to you, and her information is on the web, but you can send it to career@alumni.nd.edu. So some resources recorded online and in person.
Thanks for the plug.
And we have Francisco who wants to know about networking with professionals and companies that have Notre Dame alumni. I'm going to take a first cut at that. We do have our alumni database, and so you're able to do simple and advanced searches on our database. That, again, is at mynotredame.nd.edu. Under Connect, there are, it says Alumni Database, so you'd be absolutely available to go in there. The other tool that Pat referenced was the linkedin.com/alumni that calls up your alma mater, so that would include Notre Dame, and there are 6 columns that you can use to construct a variety of queries. Very powerful tool in there. Again, we have webinars on those at the address I mentioned previously. What would you add, Pat?
I would add the Notre Dame Alumni Network group on LinkedIn, which has over 35,000 members in it as well, right? So those are, folks on LinkedIn who are from Notre Dame and, definitely, want to be part of the, the networking, group. There's no other way to say it, right? But definitely I'm on there. I just posted a job from United Airlines on there yesterday.
Francisco is asking, do we get support to obtain headhunters list or directory? We do not maintain a list of headhunters here at the Alumni Association. We do have the alumni directory we just referenced. Pat?
Yeah, there's not really, there's a lot of Notre Dame alums who actually work in headhunting, funny enough, and so certainly they're out there, and you can certainly, I don't think they're hard to find, so I would just, utilize things like LinkedIn, to locate them.
Tori's interested and asks, how do you break into a completely different career path from what you've studied, worked on previously?
Yeah, that always sounds pretty daunting. And so one of the things you want to think about is what is the skill set that's required for that job that you want to break into, right? And so what are the skills that folks are looking for? Some things you can do tactically. So look at the LinkedIn profiles of other people that have the job that you want. What is the skill set that they are actually demonstrating there, and can you incorporate any of those keywords into your LinkedIn profile? So you start showing up in searches for that. I think obviously the other piece you have to do is you have to study up a lot on the new career path or the new industry in order to be able to answer those questions. So you have to be certainly prepared for, and I don't know, like if you're in marketing and you want to do finance, you got to beef up on all the finance topics, or vice versa, beef up on all the marketing topics or social media, whatever it is that you're hoping to do. But part of it is thinking about what are the transferable skills that I already have, and what can I do to make sure that some of those keywords that go to that new role, how can I incorporate some of them into my profile?
Another tool that may be helpful to you, Tori, is informational interviewing to learn more about that new field and ask those questions. And I think to Pat's point about transferable skills, I think that will give you some additional information. Avis asks, can you reshare the information for prioritizing the posting column of the LAMP?
Yeah, actually, I'll just pull back to the slide there.
I think it was
posting, right? So if it's the posting, if you if it's the posting is at the employer, so the employer has a posting, it matches your experience, and specific keywords match up with what you're looking for, that's a 4, and then all the way back down to 1.
David asks, do you prefer any job search websites besides LinkedIn? That is Indeed, Monster as examples.
By the time it gets out on Monster, it's pretty much everywhere, right? And so I'm not crazy about Monster. Indeed just goes around and just kind of scoops up, jobs from everywhere else. We have a free service here that we pay for it, and you have access to it as an alum, called Career Shift. And there's a job board in there, which I think is pretty good. And I think the next webinar is actually on Career Shift, but you can access that through the Alumni Association website, and we use it in the business school as well, so I think it's pretty good.
There's also a private job board that's available to alumni and select recruiters that post jobs there. It's on myNotreDame.nd.edu, and you can see follow under Connect Career Professional Services. You'll see information about our job board there.
And there's also a private job board in the Notre Dame Alumni Network group on LinkedIn as well.
Correct.
And so there's two different pieces to it. If you pull up the job board, you'll see jobs that have put there by companies specifically focused for Notre Dame, but in the discussions, there are jobs put up there by alums.
Our last question comes from John. You suggested having someone review a resume and LinkedIn profile. How to identify folks most qualified to do those reviews?
So there's two types of reviews, right? So one is just basic grammar and spelling, right? So you should have some friends that can do that pretty easily. I think the other piece is, we have a service here at Notre Dame, which Sharon already shared, but I'll go ahead and want to share Annie's info again.
Right. Annie Duffy's our career advisor, a certified professional resume writer, and you can contact Annie at career@alumni.nd.edu. This is a complimentary and expert service that the Alumni Association provides to our graduates.
And that's really worthwhile. Getting your resume done professionally is ridiculously expensive. This is wonderful that Sharon's office is providing this.
And I just want to conclude today's program by thanking you for participating. We appreciate it. We welcome your feedback. A survey will be sent to you, and please be candid in your input. I want to thank Annie for her work in developing and delivering the webinar today, and certainly you, Pat, for sharing your expertise. It's just been wonderful. I trust that everyone's found it useful. Again, a recording of this webinar will be posted shortly on the mynotredame.nd.edu website, and it will be under Connect, Career and Professional Services on the Multimedia Resources page, and it will be under this title. Our next webinar is November 13th. It will be with Valerie Matta, who is an executive with CareerShift, a strategic partner that we have. And it's called Job Seeker Support. Val will be providing an overview of the CareerShift tool, as well as a demonstration and best practices on how to use that. So again, thank you for your time and attention today, and we look forward to supporting you down the line. Have a good day.
Thanks. Go Irish.